Hello, I'm Jo Natoli, Principal of the Rental Specialists. Welcome to our 7th video in our 15-part series on the changes to the New South Wales Residential Tenancies Act that came into effect on the 23rd of March 2020. Today we're talking about rent increases. Section 41 of the old Residential Tenancies Act previously set out that the rent payable under a residential tenancy agreement could only be increased where the landlord or the property manager provided 60 days written notice to the tenant. The notice needed to specify the amount of the increased rent and the date from which it was payable. This was the case whether the increase incurred during the term of the agreement or upon a renewal. In the case of a fixed term agreement for less than 2 years, the legislation specified that the rent could only be increased if it was written into the lease agreement. Notwithstanding that the increase was written into the lease agreement, 60 days written notice of the increase still needed to be given to the tenant. Where the fixed term was more than 2 years, increases were limited to once every 12 months, and the lease did not need to specify the increased rent amount or the method of calculation. A new section 41(1)(a) has been inserted into the Residential Tenancies Act, removing the notice period where a rent increase has been written into a fixed term lease of less than 2 years. So previously, 60 days notice in writing to the tenant was still required, even though the timing and the amount of the increase were already written in the lease agreement and the tenant knew about the rent increase when they signed their lease. Now, in accordance with this new section 41(1)(a), 60 days notice will no longer be required where the increase has already been written into the fixed term agreement of less than 2 years. The date the increase is effective and the amount of the increase must be specified in the lease agreement. The amount of the increase is important. You can't just say the rent will be increased by $20 a week. You have to be specific and you say your rent will increase by $20 per week from $380 a week to $400 a week. A new section 41(1)(b) has also been inserted into the Act, limiting the number of rent increases in the case of periodic agreements. Rent increases are only allowed to be given once in every 12-month period. Now, if you'd like any further information about these new laws and how they apply to you, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you.